Have a seat on your porcelain throne. It's time to talk some shit on the Powell movement.
Welcome to the Powell movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and wow, the Olympics are halfway over, and really, with the Olympics and with everything in these intros from here on out, I'm not gonna lie and I'm not gonna sugarcoat things. I'm gonna let you know exactly how I feel about things without the filter I've kind of had on for the past 9 years. And I say that, but I'll still have a little bit of a filter, because the world isn't really ready for an unfiltered me. But I have been a little more transparent about my feelings on things the past few intros, and one of my buddies, he's been encouraging me to speak my mind and be myself since day one. And I'm finally listening. I'm going to let you know what I think. So when it comes to the Olympics, I could care less about most of the events that they have going on. To me, the Olympics are a stale, old-timey competition that, yeah, the idea of it is cool, but the presentation, the manufactured stories, the corruption of the IOC, it's all bullshit. Really, I only care about the X Games sports that are in the Olympics and a few other things. I like the short track speed skating events and ski racing. And I understand that a lot of people love the figure skating, but it's not for me. Maybe if they had a better way of presenting the skating for a modern audience, I could get into it. But while it's so difficult and those athletes are incredible, it's also kind of boring to me, and I've stopped watching that part of the games because I can. I mean, before, I didn't have a choice. While there aren't many nice things about having a dead wife, not being forced to watch figure skating during the Olympics and acting like I care is one of them. But I'd happily watch figure skating all over again to have Anne's back. But that's never going to happen again, so see you later, Brian Boitano. Is it too soon for me to make jokes like that? I don't really know. But like I said, I'm not sugarcoating shit, and I'll just say it and I'll leave it in there. I know I haven't really recovered from this whole death thing yet, but that's life, I guess. Back to the games. The crazy thing about these Olympics and pretty much everything in this country and world these days is that our dictator, our emperor, our monarch, our president, whatever you want to call him, the USA's supreme ruler, brought skiing to the global stage for all the wrong reasons when he decided to call out Hunter Hess for sharing his opinion on the state of the US. What Hunter said wasn't even that bad, and I'm not going to quote him here, but you should go listen somewhere and decide for yourself. I mean, I've said way worse things on this podcast over the years, and I haven't heard many complaints from you. But with Hunter, he was as gentle as you could be while saying he didn't agree with everything that was going on in this country. He didn't point fingers and he didn't call names. He used his First Amendment rights in a classy but honest way. And our president, who knows nothing about Hunter Hess or acting classy for that matter, calls him a real loser. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest half-pipe skiers in the world. He took third at the X Games the past 2 years, and in a non-Olympic year, that says to me that Hunter Hess is the third best competitive pipe skier out there. Now, I don't know enough about all of Trump's wins in business to really comment on how great he is at what he's done his whole life. I only know about the failures that I've seen in the news for the past 40 years. But could you imagine if Trump was ever top 3 in anything? I mean, in business, based on the bankruptcies, he doesn't get on that top 3 list. But if you were top 3, he would still have a university, and it would be amazing, competitive with Harvard. He would have an airline that would be the premier airline in the world. His cell phone company would be what everybody was talking about instead of an iPhone. His steak and vodka companies, they would be featured in the best bars and restaurants in the world. And his mortgage business would be swimming in money. They would all be successes instead of bankruptcies or just out of business. And as a dude running government, he's doing the same thing, fucking up almost everything he touches. I will say, earlier this week, my 401k was up a little bit, and conservative people were screaming about how our stock market is crushing it, and how our 401ks are up and everything's doing well. But just yesterday, that kind of crashed a little bit, and my 401k went back to normal. And with the market, there's always going to be ups and downs. So I don't really put a big value on that Tuesday being a huge day for us when I know that it's going to come back down and it'll go up again at some point too. But what I'm trying to say is that for a person that ruins or is sued by everything or person he touches, to call Hunter Hess a loser for having an opinion and expressing it is just ridiculous. Like, take that feedback and do something about it instead of act like an 8-year-old and call people names. I will say with these Olympics, I was rooting for Nick Gepper and Burke Irving to tie for first place. But now I want to see a 3-way tie. I want to see Hunter Hess, Nick Gepper, and Burke Irving all earn gold. And while I know that will never happen, I do know that I'm glad Hunter Hess and a few other Olympians have said something. We're getting to the point where everyone is afraid to say anything, and before we know it, things are going to be more out of control than they are right now, and we're not going to be able to reel things back in. This playbook has been used before, and while I wasn't alive, I hope we're able to learn what happened in history before it's too late. I used to be a proud American. These days, I'm just an American who wishes we had something to hope for. But right now, I won't say what I hope for because that's not right. And I get it. While this intro may sound like I'm painting our ruler as some monster, no. This podcast is about a monster, but not that monster, the monster, Jaren Grob. A monster that never skated or performed at the Trump Kennedy Center, but I will say, as a middle schooler, I sang there with my temple choir, and I'm a terrible singer. And Jaren, I'm not sure how he sings, but he was all over the X Games, and he was no loser there. He skated away with 2 X Games gold before his sport was iced out by the X Games. And while Jaren Grob doesn't have X to skate in, he is still getting paid to skate today, and his story is an interesting one. I should also mention that Jaren is not only getting paid to skate today, but that he has a pro wheel that's being re-released by his long-term sponsor, Eulogy Wheels, and you can get them today by going over to the Eulogy site. So I want you to do that. I also want to ask you to do a few things for me. First, it's to tell a friend about the podcast. If you like the podcast, I'm sure your friends are going to like it too. So please tell someone to listen. I bet they check it out and listen to all the episodes. The second thing I'd like you to do, especially with these inline episodes, is share my social posts. It really helps to get the word out. And these episodes are so interesting, but some people might pass over them like a Jewish holiday, and I don't want them to do that. So please share those social posts. The final thing I'd like you to do, and what keeps this show going week in and week out, is my sponsors. So please listen to their ads and buy their products. The brands I'm talking about are Elan Skis, Outdoor Research, Best Day Brewing, Ski Idaho, and Insta360 Video. Now, let's go talk to the monster, Jaren Grob. So I'm going to start out with a story that kind of sums up your risk-taking, your toughness, and your ability to have a good time way back in the party monster era. I think it was like the ASA Milwaukee, and you were lining up a stunt for best trick that you took out of the vert ramp, and it was a super high-risk situation. And in these situations, are there any calculations? Are you just looking at the stunt like, yeah, I can do that? Or are you checking out every different piece and then doing the stunt? How does that work in your head?
That one, I just kind of winged it and just went for that one, but it didn't turn out right. Usually I kind of map it out a little better, but that one, I just went for it, and obviously it went bad.
So you gapped out of the vert ramp and you were going to slide a rail like right under the judges' tower. I was behind the judges at the time, so I either had the best or worst seat that you could possibly have for that. And you gapped up like the rail bent, you tried to grab it, you flip over, and the way you hit face first, it looked like you kind of broke your back too. I mean, it was just so awkward, the scorpion from like 15 feet up, and that wasn't the case, but it was, no, you're out for a minute and you're back. Like, how long were you knocked out for?
I feel like someone told me I was out for like 20 minutes, but I don't know because I was out. But I was out for a while, and then I came to not knowing what was going on, and I thought I was street skating because I had my skates on and I was on the concrete.
Yeah.
And then someone said you jumped off the ramp onto a rail, and I was like, how did I skate vert and I'm on concrete? And then everything kind of started coming to a little bit, but I still didn't remember it for a little while.
I mean, how many times in your career were you knocked out? Maybe not like that, because 20 minutes is absolutely ridiculous, but how many times do you think you've been out cold?
Only a few, luckily, knock on wood, which is crazy for how many stunts I've done. Yeah, only a handful, less than that, which is crazy because I know a lot of people have had a lot of concussions, and I was lucky enough so far to only have a few.
So are you worried about CTE? Because, I mean, dudes you know, like Dave Mira, a guy you grew up competing not with or against, but at the same places and probably admiring when you were coming up. That dude took his own life, and CTE was a major part of it. He hit his head probably more than you, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you guys have both done a lot of things. Is it something that you think about?
Yeah, I always very cautious whenever you mess around with the head. And nowadays, whenever I try crazy stuff, I try to wear my helmet as much as I can. And it is very dangerous. So I just try to avoid it at all costs. And if I do happen to get knocked out, I try to give the proper treatment until I start skating again and not get back out there right away.
I mean, back then, wearing a helmet, there was nothing cool about it. And still, photos of people skating today look better without helmets, whatever. But were you one of those guys that wore a helmet when you had to, and then when you didn't wear it at all?
Yeah, especially back in the day, I was whatever street skating without it and everything. And I mean, I did hit my head a few times without my helmet on. And then that crash that I did in Milwaukee, I actually cracked my head open with the helmet on because it wasn't a certified helmet at the time. We didn't really have them. And so it cracked my head wide open with the helmet on.
You said you woke up on concrete, but I feel like it might have been asphalt. Because I just remember blacktop and then...
Yeah, it was asphalt, yeah.
And it what looked to be chiclets next to you, and those are your teeth. How many times have you broken your teeth over the years?
5 times at least. Well, I got veneers done, and then I started knocking them out, and that was the worst one. I knocked like 4 of them out that time, and then it was usually just 1 or maybe 2 here and there, but about 5-6 times.
Okay. And so with this one, they take you out on a backboard. We're all watching like, I can't believe that just happened. Jaren's crazy, but you like throw up the horns because you're Jaren the Monster Grob and you get out of here. And that's like your persona, but that's also you, especially at that point. And then I remember we were all at the bar and it was probably 7 or 8 hours after that whole thing, maybe a little bit longer. And you're like howling like a wolf at the bar coming back from the hospital. How does that even happen?
Well, the hospital had like, I think a few shootings that night, and Sam Fogarty was with me. He was the one that told me to do it, the trick anyway, but he was talking about partying. So the doctors didn't really see the wreck, didn't know how bad it was. And they just gave me 800 ibuprofen, did CAT scans and neck scans, and everything came back not broken. And I think my head was still okay and everything. So they said, here's ibuprofen and just take it easy. I couldn't move my neck still at that time. So I just came back to the bar and I didn't drink or anything. Everyone sounds like I just was drinking, but I didn't drink because I knew my concussion. It wasn't good to drink. But it was fun to come back and be like, hell yeah, I'm alive, and show everyone coming back that was still partying, that give them some good vibes.
I will say there was a rumor that was floating around, probably still to this day, because I've heard it and I probably have even said it, and I don't even know if it's true, so I should confirm with you. But rumor has it that broken teeth and all, you ended up going home with someone or someone else ended up going home with you. Is that at all true?
I don't want to throw myself under the bus. No, back then, yeah, I had met someone earlier in the contest, and then they gave me some sympathy, and we hung out.
All right, well, broken teeth at all, she must have been a classy one. And when you think of your stunts over the years, the other one that I was there for that may have been the biggest stunt of your career was the big loop with the flat spot. I think it was either Huntington Beach or Hermosa Beach, one of those big beach bashes. And I remember a couple skateboarders tried it on day one because it was like a skateboard only thing at first, I feel like, and they didn't want anybody else hitting it. And 2 dudes tried it a couple times and they're like, this thing is so stupid, we're going to die from that flat spot. And no one tried to hit it again. When you guys all saw that, were you like, this thing is just stupidly built and we're not even going to try this?
Yeah, we were out partying and that night, and there was a few skaters that said, I'm going to try it. And I was like, I don't even want to say I'm going to try that because it's insane. And then once we got there the next day, I think the alcohol was talking for some of the other skaters because they didn't want to try it. And I was like, that's going to, because it was a best trick contest. I was like, that's going to win the best trick. So I tried it, smashed really hard, and fell lots of times trying it. But
from my memory, it wasn't that you just wanted to do it right away. No one was going to hit that thing. They built it. And eventually, didn't they put 10 grand on anyone that did the loop?
I don't know, but I didn't see that 10 grand. I made some money. I know that. They probably did, and they backed out once we did it. But
because I remember it as they were saying that they were going to put some money, whatever the money was, on someone doing the loop. And Randy Marino, who skated for K2 at the time, was like, I already spent that money. I'm going to go land that thing. And it was you and him that were trying it. And I don't know where Randy is in this world these days. He's kind of fallen off the map to me. But if you were to ask him today who got the loop first, he will say that he did it. But you definitely got the loop cleaner. What is your opinion of that whole deal?
same thing. I think he came around. He missed the whole half of the top of it and landed back on it. And I ended up fully riding it. So obviously, in my opinion, I did it first, but we were both at it at the same time. And awesome that he was doing it too, because it helped me push myself to do it. So I want to claim that one for sure, because I did it proper.
You definitely did it proper. And I mean, you separated your shoulder, what, like 5 tries in and still went like another 3 or 4 tries?
Yeah, the first time I don't know why I didn't have a shirt because I always skated with a shirt off, but I ran right into the wall with my phone in my pocket, a little Nokia phone, and I had a bruised print of my phone on my leg, and then my elbow was swollen, and then I came around and separated my shoulder like an AC joint separation. And I just think I had the adrenaline, and I was so close, so I just was like, oh, I got this in the next try or two. I have to pull it off before the pain starts kicking in.
And that's crazy. And were you one of those skaters that didn't have health insurance and you weren't going to go to the hospital unless you absolutely had to? Because that seemed like a lot of the guys on the K2 team were like that. They didn't have health insurance. They didn't have any money where they were traveling. They were like following the TM to make sure everything was going to get paid for. And if something catastrophic happened, they were like, I'm going to smoke weed and get through it. How did that work for you? I mean, could you go to the doctor if you wanted to?
100%. I had no health insurance through my whole skating, which is nuts because I look back going, what in the hell? But I think Rosie's helped when I did get knocked out in Milwaukee. They kind of took the hospital bill for me and the ambulance bill. So that was actually lucky. But other than that, yeah, I had no insurance, and I just was a punk ass skater that threw myself and was like hoping for the best, which was crazy because some of the prize money wouldn't even have paid for my hospital visits.
I used to think it was crazy when I would talk to dudes on the K2 team and, they wouldn't wear a helmet with some crazy stunts, or they wouldn't wear something. And I'd be like, hey, dude, your elbow's already like so swollen. Are you going to put something on it? They're like, dude, if I wear a pad on my elbow, that means I can fall on my elbow.
Yeah, that's how we thought for sure.
And so your whole thing was, well, I don't have health insurance, so I just can't get hurt and I'm good.
Yeah, that's the momentum, or like the idea and our thoughts for sure.
Huh. I mean, that is so crazy. And so going back to that Sports Illustrated thing, I mean, outside of your video game cover and your X Games golds, was that spread in Sports Illustrated the biggest and maybe most unexpected thing to happen to your skate career?
Oh, it was super cool because at that time I also got in trouble for underage drinking, and I got a letter saying they didn't have to go to court. So I told my dad, he reads Sports Illustrated, and got me off. But that was just out of the in Salt Lake when that happened, and had to go to court in Orem. But yeah, that was amazing. And just to show people that aren't in the inline industry, hey, look at us. We're in Sports Illustrated and doing cool stuff, actually.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And before you were getting paid to do crazy, crazy shit, you've said that you were a poor kid from Orem, Utah. I think you had a bunch of sisters. When you say you were poor, what does that mean? Like no lights and heat poor, food stamps poor? What does that mean?
Yeah, I had 3 sisters, and we were on food stamps. Yeah, so I mean, we got food and everything, but it was ramen noodle. It wasn't like anything now.
There was no privilege at all.
Yeah, no. I literally was out when I was super young doing paper outs, mowing lawns to make my own money, and I left on tour at 14, and they were like, "Well, you're making more than us, so go for it."
I mean, when you're the kid that, you come up like that, are you kind of like the rough kid, like the bad influence growing up? Like, did you get in fights and were you kind of the outcast kid because you were the poor kid?
Yeah, lots of fights and everything, and you had to be tough because, that's just what it was. You had to feed for yourself.
Did you ever get in any real trouble?
I mean, like as I got a little bit old, I got in trouble like through my whole adolescent life.
Like school and you didn't work too well?
Yeah, I got kicked out of 7th, 8th, and partial 9th grade. Like, I only did like half of 7th grade and then went to an alternative school, which was exciting for me because they only made me go an hour a day. I was stoked,
Right.
And then the next year, 3-4 weeks before school got over, they're like, you kind of finished. You don't need to come back. And then I was already traveling at that time. So I was doing packets the rest of the other times of the 9th grade and everything because I left it when I was 14.
And I feel like while drinking was always part of your skate career when I knew you, and I don't think it's a part of your life anymore, but it was for a long time, I don't think you were one of those kids that was like a druggie or anything like that. You were just doing like regular kid stuff. So you were getting kicked out of schools for fighting and just a general bad attitude and bad demeanor?
Yeah, because I didn't really start drinking until I had started leaving for skating. So it was just fighting, not liking the whole school system, being troublemaker, and I just didn't like it. I mean, I love to learn. I just didn't like the way they tried to teach me.
So with skating, I think you first see that at one of those school shows that comes through town. Do you see a show at school and then you're like, I want to try either inline or skateboarding or whatever?
Yeah, when I was in 2nd grade, 2 skateboarders came to my school and just jumped over a table, did some ollies and kick flips, and I was like, that is the coolest thing. And then in 7th grade, I had already met them at the only skate park we had and ended up doing shows with them when I was in 7th grade. The guys that came to my school and got to ride the skate park with them as well. It was really cool.
And the skate park wall, most cities, if they had a place called the Lumberyard, it would be like the best gay bar in town. But that's where you grew up skating, right?
Yeah, it was called Lumberyard, owned by John Beathers and Troy Steinecker. They named it after the Lumberyard from the movie Rad.
That's pretty sick. Did the skate park become your second home? Like, even if you were street skating, you'd still go to the skate park to meet up with people?
Yeah, and that's where I learned to really skate, was at the roller rink, just really good and get my balance and just skate there all the time. And then I would go street skating all the time until my dad found the Lumberyard. And I was like, oh, I'm not going back to the roller rink. That's for, amateurs. I'm going to, I'm going to do all these ramps and stuff. And then that's where he met me and brought me on tour at 14 too.
So like you start to go on tour at 14, and is it just like a whole bunch of demos where you spend 4 hours setting up, then you skate for 2 hours, and you tear down, and you do that every single day and then head to the next town?
Yeah, the first one when I was 14, I went to Burbank, California for a fair, and then the Ohio State Fair. And then after that, was with some guy. I don't even want to give him props because he bounced my check and I stopped working for him. And then I started working for another guy that was full school shows, setting up. We did 3 a day, set up, tear down, do a show, set up, tear down. It was crazy, but I loved it because I was young and making money. I didn't care. So super fun and just traveling all over the place.
And you said you were making more money than your parents at that point. That has to be like insane to you.
Oh, yeah, it was super cool. And yeah, they were very supportive. They didn't have like the luxury of money and all that, but they supported me, which helped me and let me do my thing.
And then when you think about those tours early on, I'm sure it's all for the love. Sure, you're getting paid as well, but it's like you just care to go skate and party at night and stuff like that. How many people to a hotel room back in those days?
How many people were in the hotel room?
Yeah.
We'd have like 20 plus just partying every time. And that's what it was. Like you said, it was like a big party. And then we would just travel around and get to meet our friends, party, and then get paid if we skated good. So it was awesome.
So you'd go to a city, you'd like skate at a show, all these people would watch, and then they'd want to come back and party at your hotel. And you're 14 years old and no one has a problem teaching you how to party.
No, it was a different time, I feel, in life for sure. There wasn't the social media. There wasn't the anything. It was just good times.
And is it one of those deals where you get a per diem, or is it like you better be with the dude managing the tour if you're going to eat, and if you're not there, you're not eating?
No, I don't think we even had per diem back then that I can remember. Once I started traveling more contests and getting the sponsors, then I started getting some per diem.
Okay. And then with your parents, did they make you call home every day? Was it pretty loose? Like, how as a 14-year-old, like, what responsibilities in life did you have other than skating?
I feel like I just had to call because we didn't have cell phones back then.
Right.
Like the main guy had maybe one brick phone. So I would call like from either a payphone or a card you would get that you prepaid, call across the United States. And I would call like once a week and say, I'm good. It was wild compared to how it is now. Like I can contact my son every day, all the time. So
could you imagine? Your kid, I don't know if he's doing skate tours now, but eventually like he's going to be doing something, it seems like, where he'll be away from you. And you're going to expect to talk to him at least more than once a week. But back then you were with a bunch of like teenagers and people old enough just to buy beer. And it was like, good luck.
Yeah, that is crazy. I can't even believe to think about being a parent now. That is wild.
It's time for my first sponsor break, and I'm going to start out with Insta360 action cameras, the only 360 camera that matters these days. These are the best action cameras on the market. They capture everything around you in 8K 360-degree video. It's next to impossible to miss the shot, and your footage won't be shaky thanks to the super smooth stabilization system, which is so important when you're on the mountain. Insta360 developed their X5 and X4 Air cameras with skiers and snowboarders in mind, which means they feature a freeze-proof design, batteries with longer run times, and a super durable design that will have you getting footage from the park to powder. And when it comes to editing that footage, Insta360's proprietary editing program makes it easier than ever to create Hollywood-level content or just a simple edit for you and your friends to enjoy. It's easy. Insta360 is the best action camera on the market, and for listening to the Powell Movement, they're going to give you a special offer. When you head on over to Insta360.com, they're holding a ski bundle sale for their flagship 360-degree action cameras, including the X5 and X4 Air cameras. When you're at checkout after you make your purchase, enter the code POWELL, that's capital Powell, and you're going to get a free ski pole mount from the good folks at Insta360 Cameras. Next up, it's Elan Skis. And if you haven't skied on an award-winning ripstick yet, you're missing out on something that ski brands have long said wasn't an option. A lightweight ski that powers through anything and truly rips. It's game-changing. And Elan, while they've been around for 80 years, have been changing the game of modern skiing by doing things like adding side cut to straight skis with the Elan SCX, which changed the whole industry. They're building skis by skiers in a place with ski culture in the Slovenian Alps. And most importantly, they're supporting local shops. When the competition goes and starts selling direct, Elan sticks by their retailers who have been by them since the beginning. Elan is just built differently, and they innovate with a purpose, and that's to make your on-snow experience better, easier, and more fun. It's this approach that brought you the Ripstick and all of their award-winning skis. And when you're in the market for a new pair, visit an Elan retailer, demo a pair of their skis, and you'll know why Elan has built a cult following here in the States. To find out more about all the skis or to find an Elan dealer, head on over to elanskis.com. My final sponsor this round is Best Day Brewing, and now is the time to think snow. And skiers, snowboarders, weekend warriors, tubers, sledders, snowbikers, snowmobilers, snowshoers, sled doggers, shovel racers, snow angel makers, ice skaters, snowball fighters, igloo builders, you get it. The doers of winter are starting to get ready to shred, and post-shred, it's all about après. And this year, do après the right way. Forget about the calories, forget about the alcohol, forget about not taking more runs on the mountain, forget about getting in trouble on the way home, because with a beer from Best Day Brewing, you don't have to worry about any negative consequences. Just incredible flavor. Blind taste tests prove that you won't be able to taste the difference between a Best Day and your favorite beer with alcohol. The only difference you'll notice is how good you'll feel in the morning, and you're going to remember what you did last night, which is almost refreshing as a Best Day itself. To celebrate your best day yet, next time you're at the store, pick up a 6-pack of Best Day. Or you can always buy it on your Alaska Airlines flight, Amazon.com, or head on over to bestdaybrewing.com to get the full assortment of Best Days. Those are my sponsors. Now it's time to jump back into the podcast. When you're 14 and you're with dudes that are like from 15 to 22, what's some of the dumbest shit that you've seen? Like how many people you think you've seen jump off a roof of a hotel into a pool in your lifetime?
Oh, many times. I don't even know how many hotel roofs we went on top of in Inglewood and anywhere, just places that you just like, what the hell are we doing? But we're just out of control. We're young, dumb, and get freedom that most people don't have because we were decent at skating. So it was wild. And there was like the Guardians didn't care what we did. So it was pretty out of control.
I mean, what's the worst hotel room you've ever seen destroyed in your career as a traveling pretty much rock star with only having to compete in sports?
I didn't mess up too many. There was a few and I got fined a few times. And then I remember one time my dad was at a contest and he was like, what the hell are you doing? And after that one, I was like, okay, I'm not going to screw the hotels up. You know, I was pretty respectful on that. I just thought, you know, if it was mine, you know, because same thing would happen to my house. I let skaters stay there and they destroyed it. I'm like, what the hell, you know, but.
Well, I would say we'll talk about that, but we might talk about that a little bit later because I want to keep moving forward a little bit. And then when you're traveling place to place, it's like, are you street skating in every city too?
Sometimes it depends, especially on the contest or when I was in the circus, the Ringling Brothers Circus, we did shows there. And in between our shows and everything, we'd go street skate all the time because we loved it. And we only had to do a few things in the circus, our act and a couple other things. So we would always try to go street skating and just see what's around the town. It was awesome.
With skating, have you ever been arrested for skating?
Oh, yeah. I've been arrested at BY, like a lot of places, colleges.
Like gone to jail arrested for skating?
Well, the one I remember in BYU, they put us in a room and they confiscated our big camera we rented and everything. And my dad was like, they could be doing other things, you know, because they thought he was going to get all mad. And he just like, you know, they're just skating, leave them alone. And I don't think we went to jail at the time. They just like banned us from going there ever again, which we kept going back. But
Has the monster ever been to jail?
Yeah, I've been to jail a few times.
For what?
Uh,
If you don't mind me asking.
yeah, I don't mind you asking. I got a DUI. I
That
went to
sucks.
jail. Yeah, it was pretty bad. The first one, I got 2 DUIs, and after that, it took me two to realize that I'm never doing that again. First one, I actually had to spend like 30 days in jail, but before had to do that, I went to Australia and then came back, and then I put a contest on, and I act like I worked at the skate park and got work release. So I put on a huge contest, and like Brian Aragon and all these guys came to it. I put money up for it, and I had Yoo-Hoo send a pallet of stuff. And then before it got finished, I had to go back to jail, but no one knew. I just had my friend finish the contest for me. That was pretty funny. And they acted like they wrote me fake checks at the skate park. So I just went there Monday through Thursday and then went back to jail, got good time. So I only spent like 20 days there, which was enough to be like, I don't ever want to be here again, which then ended up going to jail in Vegas. The same thing. I totaled my BMW in Las Vegas. That was pretty bad. And I spent just a weekend there and then I got off. So,
Dude, that's crazy. That's a long time to spend in jail. So for a dude who grew up fighting a bit, have you been in a fight in jail?
I have not been in a fight in jail. I thought I was going to be in Vegas, but I think a lot of times they know they're going to get in more trouble if they mess with you, especially when you're getting checked in and everything. So unless you have some big problems, they're going to try to avoid it unless they're in there for a long time because they're going to get sentenced to more time or something. And you just try to act like you're tough and not be messed with, but it is scary because I'm like, if anybody messes with me, I'm throwing down and going to defend myself for sure. But I think they just thought they were going to get more time if they started fights for, no reason.
Well, man, you've been to some weird places. Another one that you kind of brought up is when you're 15 or so, you stop doing the shows with like your tour groups and you end up on the Circus. You go Ringling Brothers. And is that a full-on group of weird carnies that's another subset of the world? Or is it normal and is it just we make fun of it because we don't understand it?
I think both. I went on when I was 16, and it was kind of cool because there was like 10 skaters from New York and just me from Utah, and it was just really a cool experience. But like the guys were in charge of me were just like drunks, and so it was like full party the whole time. And then I went to school full time there, so I had my teacher was like one of the clowns, and then they had like a regular teacher as well on tour, and we'd go to the arenas for like an hour before, do our schoolwork, and then we would do the shows 2 or 3 a day or whatever. Yeah, so it was wild for sure.
And then I would think with the shows, is that where you kind of develop your transition skills and like go huge style? Because there's 1 or 2 features, you're hitting it like 100 times a day. And I think the way to get people going at the shows is big backflips and going huge. Is that where you kind of develop your style?
Yeah, just the consistency of having to do tricks all the time. So I guess it pushed right over to competitions because you were being consistent in shows, riding ramps all the time. You're just muscle memory all the time. And contests, I just did it for fun. Everyone stressing out. I was like, this is a big party, and I think you do better when you're just having a good time.
When I think about you and your contest run, it seemed like you always had one feature that was going to be as big or bigger than everyone else's. Was it like you'd go to the course, look for the biggest thing that you could possibly do there and be like, all right, I'm going to do that, and then build a run around that? And it was like either you're going to win or you're not?
Yes, I think so. And I would just look at the course because I knew what I could do. So I would flow around, and a lot of people would be like, you didn't do anything in practice. And then when the contest goes, like you said, I try to get a solid run in and then step it up and like see what the craziest thing I can see there is and add that into my run.
And when you think about how you first got into contests, it's like 96, 97, the scene's exploding. There's global tours. You're on the Circus tour, so you leave the Circus tour and you make both NIS and then the ASA Pro Tour. You do that for street and vert. And what was your first big contest result where you're just like, holy shit, I just placed high against the best in the world?
Yeah, I saw the opportunity when I was in Texas to quit the Circus and join up with those guys out in Austin. And they said they were going to go to New Orleans for a NIS contest. And I was like, hell yeah. And then after that, they were going to go to Eisenberg's for the ASA amateur one. So I was like, okay, write a letter to the Kevin Felt, the entertainment of Ringling. And I said, I'm quitting because I'm pursuing skating outside of this. And I went to NIS and I ended up qualifying first out of every pro.
Huh.
in New Orleans, and I was like, holy shit. And then I ended up the next day or something, or when we did the finals, I ended up like 5th, 6th, or 7th because I screwed up. But still, just being out there, they were like, who the hell is this guy? Where did he come from? Because I was in the circus, they didn't see me or know me. From then, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Went to Eisenberg's, qualified for street and vert for ASA Pro. They said, I'm not from there. I have to qualify in California. So I went there, qualified in California, then went to Vegas and ended up turning pro.
That first year on the pro tour, like you were rookie of the year, it's like 1999. And is there a moment where your whole family, like, do you have that sappy, like awesome moment where like your folks are like, we're really proud of you, Jaren. And all those decisions, like they weren't crazy. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I just think they had my back the whole time, which is wild. Like whether I succeeded or not, they weren't the parent where they're like, you have to be a doctor. They just saw me excited and were part of it. And, money wasn't their main goal in life, I think. And yeah, it was just amazing to do all that stuff. But I think like now I would have loved to hold all my, like, I think I got rid of half my medals, or I don't even know where they are. I have quite a bit, but like all that stuff, I wish I would have kept even more of because I did quite a bit of stuff back then, like contests.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, the pride that they have in you, because like you have a son who's going to be a great athlete. He could be better than you, but at one point in your life, for a good 5 years or so, you were the best park contest skater, arguably in the world. I guess Brian Aragon was in there with you too, but it seemed like you won more than he won, even though he went to a lot of, like, I don't know. Either way, you were arguably the best. It is going to be tough for your son to just be the best. So it's like, it's just crazy to have a child that became the best. It's like, were your parents good athletes?
I don't, they were like, my mom was a tomboy when she was little, and my dad seemed to be athletic when he was younger. But yeah, I don't think they were over the top, and I just had that tough grit and just, I don't know, I just enjoyed what I did and took everything I had, that sad, mad, happy, whatever, out on skating.
And it worked for you. And you think about that 1999 year rookie of the year, I would think that's when brands are coming to you and sponsoring you. And that has to be more important for you than most skaters out there, because like the dudes who grow up in those middle class families whose parents can buy them plane tickets places, their lives are easy. For you, your lives weren't that easy. So when brands are starting to say, hey, we're going to make you travel and do this and this and this, it has to be so awesome for you. Who was the first brand that made a difference in your life?
Oh yeah, I was so lucky because you're right. I wouldn't have been able to make it anywhere if they didn't pay for me. I think it could have, I mean, I had some smaller sponsors. Eulogy helped out a lot. And then Rossi's started paying me a salary and flying me everywhere too. So probably those two sponsors are one of the biggest that helped me.
Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of big ones. So when I look at sponsorship, because I always try to break it down, it's like if you were on K2 in 2000, like Cesar Mora, he was making almost $60,000. I mean, I actually know exactly how much he was making. When I say almost $60,000, he was making $60,000 from K2 that year. I mean, were you able to make anything like that from Rosas?
I'm not sure. I know Yoo-Hoo paid me quite a bit. They were my highest paying sponsor, Yoo-Hoo.
Is it more than 50 grand a year from a chocolate drink?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Yoo-Hoo, you have Rosas, you have Paul Mitchell, which is another big one. Who else was sponsored? Do you have a helmet sponsor?
Eulogy Wheels. And then at that time, I think that was most of them. I mean, I got free stuff from, like helmets and everything else, but.
So in the height of your blading, because you're winning a lot of contests too, I would think the average check for first place was probably between 6 and 10 grand, I would hope. And then some brands would match that. But are you making more than 150 grand as a rollerblader back in 2003 and 4?
Maybe in 2001 and 2.
But that's awesome.
It was crazy because at the same time, I didn't like, and now, but I don't really care about money. So I'd spend it stupidly too. And I look back going, man, I could have had a lot more stuff for that.
I mean, will you blow it if you got it? Like, did you buy a house or anything like that? Or is it more just like you were living the good life and it was always going to come in until it didn't?
Yeah, I thought it was always going to come in. I bought a house, a Harley Davidson, a BMW, a hot tub, all these things, thinking at least buying the house was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But I was never there. So it kind of sucked because I'm paying for a place I never got to be at. But yeah, I thought I was doing the right things with the money. But no one ever told me, back then anything about money. So
Dude, it doesn't sound like your family had it to even advise you about it. And then when you're 14 years old, you're not going to be a very good money manager. So the fact that you even bought a house is a good thing, that you were smart enough to do that. But does that mean that, like, since you didn't save for the future, is skating still like a constant hustle where that's the way you earn your money and you just constantly have to skate unless you're injured?
Yeah, that's it. That's how it is right now. And I kind of choose that because I'd rather do that versus a side thing. I'm always looking for other opportunities in life for sure, different careers and stuff. And I know eventually might have my own skate park with a jiu-jitsu gym, or who knows, I do lots of other passions. But right now, actually today, I just did a show in Long Beach, California. I'm out in California right now visiting my girlfriend, and I went and did a show last minute in Long Beach, California for a school show. So that was pretty cool.
Nice, nice. And do they introduce you still? Are you still known as the monster, Jaren Grob?
I think he said something like that, but some people do, some people don't. It's a fun little thing for the kids, I guess. But
well, not even for the kids, for the sport. It made you something that was bigger than the sport, and people that didn't blade still knew the monster. And it had to be special that, like, industry legend and icon Arlo coined that term for you. And when he did that, did you, like, fully embrace it and run with it? Like, that's my image from here on out. I'm all black. And if you're 5'5", I'm 6'6", or was that just who you are anyway?
I think that's just who I am anyways. And he just happened to say that during a contest and it stuck. And I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, I kind of would have went with anything. Like, I didn't really care. I'm just like, so go with the flow and just have fun. Yeah. And I didn't even, sometimes realize that I even was popular until, people holding your signs up in cities you're going to with your name on it and people recognizing you everywhere because it was on ESPN. Then it was like wild. But at the same time, I still was just myself, like a kid that loved to skate.
Yeah. It was weird in your popularity too, because you had a street skate section at one point in one of Arlo's movies, speaking of Arlo, and it came with like mixed emotions given you didn't have a lot of time to skate and you were hurt a little bit. But the core street skaters of the time, while you're a beloved park skater and no one can deny anything that you did, it was so hard for you to get love on the street side of things. And I don't think you ever really got any respect, which, the tricks spoke for themselves, but there was a couple clips that had wood in it and people were just like so mean. Does that stuff bother you at all, or are you able to tune all that out as well?
I can tune it all out. It's frustrating if you think about it sometimes, but I don't really let it, because my original skating is street skating. My friends I grew up with know how good I am at street and all that, and I never really could focus on the street section because I always had to keep doing contests to make more, make my living and everything else. So like that video, I only skated. I literally flew to California, filmed a couple days, left for a contest, came back, filmed a couple days, and that was the section. Literally in like a week I filmed it or something really quick. And the first trick of the time I got hurt.
The weird thing is that Brian Aragon, arguably a great park and street skater, he was able to get respect on both sides of the coin and people loved him on both sides. And it's weird that you couldn't get respect on both sides of the coin, given, I guess, he had more street stuff come out in public and you really didn't need to. But Brian Aragon could never be the monster Jaren Grob to the ESPN crowd, which is what you had, of like people looked at you. I won't want to say you were a character, but you're almost like a pro wrestler out there. And the way that you skated, you picking the biggest hammers out there, it was like you were having fun and just trying to one up anything in skating. And when you think about like you in a contest run, when you'd blow a run and you'd crash and your day would be over, did that piss you off or did you even care?
I only cared because like maybe I could have made some more money, or I knew I could have landed the trick, or if it hurt. But like I would try to get up and do something even crazier because I knew I screwed the run up. So I might as well land something really cool. But yeah, it wouldn't ruin my day, There's only a handful of times when I thought I should have done way better in a contest and I felt the judges didn't give it to me. But then sometimes you didn't do as good and they gave you a little better. So it kind of goes both ways.
For you, while you love skating, did it almost feel like at those contests that 10 grand was yours? And if you crashed, it was like, fuck, I just lost my money.
Oh, for sure.
It's time for my second round of sponsors, and I'm going to start out with Outdoor Research. And if you haven't checked out outdoorresearch.com in the past week or so, then you haven't seen the brand new winter line, which looks incredible. I could spend a lot of this ad telling you all the tech and why Outdoor Research is better, But know that in the 1980s and the early 90s, outdoor research built a reputation on functional quality outdoor gear that pushed the limits of innovative possibilities. And those who were function first were all about OR gear because it was and it still is built better, and outdoor research is still pushing those limits of innovation. This year, the outerwear focuses on 3 new collections: the Cloud Chaser for backcountry and the Powderverse and Hemisphere collections for freeride, as well as some staples in the line like the Snow Crew collection. These outerwear systems are styled for and by athletes like Mark Adma, Troy Podmilsack, Zoe Aitken, snowboarder Neil Provo, and others, and that's why this outerwear collection not only looks so good, but each piece is more functional than ever, and they're all you're going to need in any conditions. To find out more about the new collection, head on over to outdoorresearch.com. My final sponsor this round is Ski Idaho. And if you haven't skied in Idaho, then you're missing the best kept ski secret in the nation. Think 19 uncrowded ski areas with epic terrain that all get a ton of snow. In Idaho, you'll ski a lot more than you're waiting in line, and they really have something for everyone. When you visit Idaho, resorts like Sun Valley, Grand Targhee, Schweitzer, Silver, and Tamarack offer that on-mountain lodging experience, and there are so many other mountains to choose from throughout the state. Between the snow, the terrain, the award-winning restaurants, and experiences like horse-drawn sleigh rides, indoor water parks, spas, skating, guided snowshoeing, and so much more, I'm not kidding when I say there really is something for everyone this winter in Idaho. And if you haven't heard about the 5th and 6th grade passport program that allows kids to ride multiple times at each resort for only $29, you need to check it out. It's worth visiting Idaho just for that. To find out more about the passport program and all things skiing in Idaho, head on over to skiidaho.us. Those are my sponsors. Now it's time to jump back into the podcast. Another huge part of your career was getting that cover of Aggressive Inline, the video game, in 2002. The thing is, with that one, there were a lot of big name pros involved in the game, and a lot of them thought they were going to be on the cover. I remember Cesar Mora telling me that he was going to be getting the cover, and he was pretty excited about it. It did not happen. You were the one who got the cover. Who were the other ones that maybe had a chance at the cover and were involved in kind of the ideation of the game?
Yeah, so the original, I mean, I didn't have much to say at first, and I just was like, oh, you want to be in the video game? I was like, yeah, because I was traveling so much, I didn't get an opportunity to do the filming with it, so they just took digital photos around me. And then Chris Edwards was supposed to be on the cover, and at the time I was winning all the contests, so we were on tour in Australia, and I got a phone call out there, and they said, hey, I think we're going to put you on the cover because you're winning all the contests and one of the most popular skaters right now. And I said, yeah, I didn't even care how much money they wanted or anything.
Were any of the other skaters butthurt that they weren't put on the cover?
Not that I know of. And Chris Edwards was pretty cool with it. I mean, not cool with it, but he was like, seemed to be not too butthurt.
With those games, it was the one thing that was bigger than the sport. You know, like skateboarders had a lot of things that were bigger than the sport. They had shoes, they had the video games, and they had cool clothing that people would buy. But rollerbladers or inline skaters, the only thing they had that transcended the sport that made it to the mainstream was that video game. I don't think there is anything else that we can say, oh, that became mainstream. Like, oh, you could say there was a Senate sticker in Friends, but that really didn't make the sport mainstream. But is it one of those things where you get recognized all over the world and it was like the biggest paycheck of your life because everybody can buy video games?
I wish I had a better contract with them for sure. And I think they owe me almost $100,000, but they went out of business. That company did. So I wish I got paid more for it, but it is really cool to be recognized. A lot of people don't know. And they're like, oh, you know that video game? And they're like, yeah, I'm on the cover. And then they snap, oh my God, that's you. And then they freak out. So it is pretty wild because it is bigger than skating because people that don't skate play video games.
Yeah, and so a lot of people saw you there. While you have the video game cover, how about magazine covers? In a sport that was all about being core and street, did anyone ever risk it and put you on the cover?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I ever was on a skate cover. I was in the cover of the video game magazine. I was in the Sports Illustrated. I was on ESPN Plus. They mentioned me in Rolling Stones magazine. That was pretty cool.
But the biggest contest skater in the world couldn't get a skate cover in his own industry, which is just telling, I guess, about the industry. And while you have a lot of different things, resume-wise, the biggest thing you have is 2 X Games gold medals. That transcends everything. Everybody knows that when you say that, it is immediate respect. I don't think anything comes close in terms of events for you. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. Because when I was younger, I watched the first X Games and was like, this is insane. I wanted to even just be in it and then obviously win, and it made it happen. The dream come true. So it was pretty crazy watching the 95 X Games and then going straight to the skate park after and trying whatever all the guys, Matt Salerno and them were doing. We were trying it right away.
What's funny is that you've done that a lot of times in your life. Is like probably in second grade, you looked at those skateboarders and you're like, I'm going to do this one day. And then like 3 years later or 5 years later, you're doing skate demos. And then one day you see people at the X Games. You're like, I'm going to do this one day. Then next thing you know, you're winning X Games. It's like everything you say you're going to do. It's probably with jiu-jitsu too. It's like when you started doing it and you're like, I'm going to be pretty good at it. And you're kicking ass in it now. It's like kind of happened with everything you've done in life, right? Sport-wise.
Yeah, I try to, for sure. Yeah, I mean, at least in the things I can control.
So thinking about your X Games experience, what are the highlights of X Games? Like when you tell your son about the great stories, what are the X Games stories?
Oh, so many. They're just awesome. Like both ones I won, I was in first and I fell back behind and had to redo my whole runs last minute and ended up winning them because I did the craziest stuff I could do at the time and landed everything. And then just the experiences and just getting to go all over and do that. And all the athletes, I was on the other ramp when Tony Hawk landed his 900. Travis was trying to jump into the ocean, just different things. And I was there to watch all the other sports get big too. Because when I would finish, I love all action sports. So I would go watch every single sport and then go party.
And X Games brought music and all different kinds of events to the event itself. And when you think about you being the Dark Lord of blading and you being super into music, especially the heavy stuff, especially back then, or that's how you were marketed, what bands did you get to meet or watch from the wings over the years because you were a rollerblader?
I got to meet a lot. I ended up doing shows at Ozfest and Warped Tours and just meeting tons of bands.
You meet Dimebag Darrell?
I didn't get to meet Dimebag, but I spent my birthday at Vinnie Paul's house, his brother's, one year.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That was cool, and I met him a handful of times, and tons of other, people from Slayer to Metallica to different bands, just all over traveling. So it's been amazing.
Oh,
and
man.
I love music, so it's really cool. I would geek out with them for sure.
And with contests, you were still killing it, and you had them figured out. Like, you could go there, figure out what you wanted to do, and it seemed like everything was easy towards the end. But then contests go away, and was it like a trickle-down thing where first you lose X Games, and then like 2 years later, everything's gone?
Yeah, it was really quick because like you said earlier, I was like, oh, the money's always coming in. And then all of a sudden, once we kind of were out of the X Games off TV, all my sponsors pretty much dropped me from salary. And I just started getting free stuff, and it went from like making all this money to nothing really quick with, because I thought it would keep going. I mean, at the time you're young and you just think, oh, you're a good skater. It's going to keep going, the money. And all of a sudden it just stops. But I luckily had shows to fall back on and just do shows all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that being a really, really scary time for every skater at that point where like all sponsorships are gone, figure it out on your own. Everything you've known your whole life that you've invested in, you got to start from scratch.
Yeah, it sucked.
And, some dudes would do the Cirque du Soleil thing. And, there's a handful of guys that were able to make money doing that. Other dudes had to get real jobs. But like you said, you had shows and demos. Can you make real money doing shows? Like, is there enough work to make a year salary?
Yeah, it's not the best, but before COVID happened, we had a lot more shows, and they're starting to pick back up now because, everyone wants entertainment. I'll do a whole summer show for 2 months, 3 months straight, and then go to a fall one and then do a spring tour or something. But it does suck sometimes traveling that much.
Dude, you're not young like you once were. How much wear and tear does that do on your body when you're skating 200 days a year?
Quite a bit, and especially for the pay, they don't realize that. But it also keeps you young too. So you want to stay in shape or else you're going to fall behind and you're going to be hurting more. And, and then you get injured, and that sucks because then you can't make money. So it's got its ups and downs for sure.
Speaking of ups and downs, when you're in front of a live crowd at a show, Have you ever had a crash on just like a stupid thing where you just feel like a total idiot?
Yeah, a lot of times, but at the same time, I just think no one else in the crowd could do this. So, it happens. We're human. And a lot of times you do fall into stupid stuff. But I try to look at it like that, like, shit, and get back up and do it again. And, some people like the crashes. So you give them that too. Not that we like it because it hurts, but they like to see you get back up and keep going for sure.
Have you ever seen someone actually get injured at a school show or at a amusement park show? And when that happens, what do they do?
Lots of times, actually, because I've done so many. People have been knocked out, unconscious, and we stop the show. And then, if they just sprain an ankle, they go backstage and everything's good. But if they get completely knocked out, or one of the guys almost died because he punctured his liver and kidney, he had to get life flighted, actually. But, we just have to stop the show. And then people leave, and then we can move on to the next show once that happens, just without that person, and we readjust the show.
All right. Well, while you had your traditional shows going and all the different tours that you would do, what seemed to be something that goes against all things the monster was America's Got Talent. How and why did you do that one?
Actually, two of the companies I was doing shows for at the time ended up doing it that year, and I was doing shows more for one company, but they only use their California riders. So another company reached out and they said, "Hey, we're doing this show. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, it's publicity. You get your name out there more for the same people that don't watch what we do. And so I came out there and I actually helped, because I also choreograph shows. So I ended up helping choreograph the whole America's Got Talent. Did that for the bike riders. It was mostly bike riders in that show. And then right after we finished that live, I went and did shows with the other company that was in the America's Got Talent too. So it was pretty fun.
Do you have any Howard Stern interactions, or you guys kept totally separate from all that stuff?
We met him a few times, Howard, Howie Mandel.
Did they want to meet you guys because you're cool?
I don't know if they gave a shit, really. I just think they were like, let's just do our jobs. Okay, that was kind of cool. We see a lot of stuff. And a lot of it was really fake, the show. Obviously, our acts are real and stuff, but they want you to say a few things and bash on a few other people. But, it's funny because sometimes I'll say that in my school show, in my intro, and the teachers freak out. And I'm like, that really wasn't an accomplishment. We just on the show skating.
Yeah,
But,
totally. We didn't win.
Yeah, and even if we did, it's not like it was a real accomplishment, because to me, it's just a TV show. Like, accomplishments are winning the X Games and doing Worlds and being on a video game, doing stuff like that.
That is true. Speaking of TV shows, have you been on other TV shows or movies or Hollywood productions?
Not too much. I think it was because of my location, because a lot of the skaters from California got on the movies and the commercials. I wish I would have, or stunts. I do a lot of stunts. I wish I would have done some more stunt work. But I think it was because my location from Utah, we didn't really have it out here. But I haven't been on that many. It's hard to think about which ones I have been on.
All right, let's see. As you go further into your career, I mean, there's still some contests. Feast is one of the big ones. You end up going there in 2018. You had a really bad fall. You broke your shoulder. You partially tore your ACL as well. But did they go into your knee and then realize that from the years of ignoring it and not going to the doctor, that your knee's totally fucked and your other one is probably too?
Yeah, so I crashed there and my shoulder was hanging down. I was going to do my next run and my knee was hurting, and I was like, I can't do it. Then they said, "Oh, we'll take you to the hospital free." Got there, they're like, "We'll do shoulder surgery for free." I was like, awesome. Then my knee was bad too. So when I got back, I just tried to rehab that. After my shoulder healed and all the stuff, I realized my knee was feeling a little better. And then I snapped my other knee and then went and got an MRI, and I realized they're like, "Oh, we can do both knees." And they were both just destroyed. But I opted to just do surgery on my one knee, and they did 4 operations on that at once. So that sucked too. But the other one, I just decided to rehab it because it wasn't completely torn. So yeah, that sucked.
Does your knee that you needed 4 different operations on, does it feel a hell of a lot better than it did?
It does. It still pops out a little bit, and it cracks. I mean, there's so much wrong with it, I'm sure. But like I said, I think being active helps a lot. And I know what to do and what not to do a lot of times. But even in like a jiu-jitsu comp, it'll pop out sometimes or stuff. And it's just scary knowing that it's not 100% fixed and it will never be.
Yeah, but I mean, you've definitely put your body through the ringer. Where is your body now? On like 0 to 100, where are you?
Probably 75%. I have a herniated disc that have numbness in my foot 24/7. That's probably the worst one with my knees that I like day to day. It's always a pain. And the doctors say it'll never heal, I don't think. So that sucks. So it's like permanently disabled for that. And then with my knees, those are the two things that probably give me the most problems. But staying healthy, hydrated, and active helps a lot until you fall or in different positions. But yeah, I did put my body through some hell.
I mean, you think about it now, are you still doing skate shows and still doing a lot of jujitsu and just like still as active as ever?
Yeah, I think that helps a lot actually. Because when I sit around for a day or two, I feel like I'm in more pain than when I put my body through like pretty rough skating or jiu-jitsu, unless you get a hurt, fall and get hurt.
Yeah. And I guess while I could talk about your kid who may eventually have more talent than you, I'm not going to. I'm not going to talk about the brand that you started, Dark Nine. I'm not going to talk about martial arts much. I'm not going to talk about anything else, really. What I am going to do, or what I am going to ask is, when you think of action sports these days, inline never made the comeback that the inline industry's always been saying it's going to make. I mean, you look on like BMAG and it's just like, it's coming back next year. This is happening. This is going to save rollerblading. That's going to save rollerblading. Nothing saved rollerblading ever. These days, do you feel like people have given up on inline?
My son for sure has more talent than me, but I don't know. I just think like we never are like a community that helps each other. We're always, even online, everyone still bashes on each other, and it's just pathetic to me. And no matter how good you are, someone's going to rag on you. And we were so young at the time that it was the youngsters like guiding us to make inline big. And then once we got out of the mainstream, to get back in, it just feels like there's no right way to do it. And I don't know. I just feel like if kids would give it a try and not listen, because in other countries, I feel it's bigger because they don't do what's popular. They do what they like to do. If people would do that more often, it would blow up, because it is amazing and it's kept me happy my whole life, and out of trouble. And anytime you're sad, happy, mad, you can go skate with your friends. And the good thing about it too is anyone can do it, and then you can go do crazier stuff, and then you progress, and then people can't do what you're doing. But like I said, anyone can just roll around, and it's so fun, So I don't know how we would be able to get it back. I'm out there showing kids every day, when I'm doing shows, how fun it is, and they can do it, and they're surprised going, I didn't even know you could do that. Still to this day, I'm like, because it's not in the mainstream out here in America. But there's got to be a way to bring it back for sure. I think even when I was younger, the rollerblade ban came around and let people try skates out. But I think it blew up so big and then dropped out real quick. Hopefully it will come back, just so people can have the passion of skating, how fun it is.
Well, I don't think many people have the passion of skating like you do. For the past 30 some odd years, you've been living on the road, skating the whole time. And while a lot of people have come and gone, you have never wavered. So that's pretty amazing. But that's our podcast. And now it's time for something that I call Inappropriate Questions. And I get someone that to ask 3 questions, and they can be anything. I was able to get a guy that grew up idolizing you, and then he once beat you in a contest, and it's one of his and his whole family's greatest memories of him beating you in this contest. But Cameron Card is another one of the great Utah skaters, and like yourself, he skated park and street, and while you may have had much better results over your competition career, I'll say Cameron might have garnered more respect as a street skater, and he skated with a helmet at times, which is crazy. But can you first, before we get into Cameron's inappropriate questions, can you first tell the story of you letting Cameron crash on your floor because he was going to sleep in a dumpster?
Yeah, I would always welcome anyone to come and party in my hotel and sleep. And Cameron was my local Utah friend, and I think he was outside and he didn't have anywhere to stay. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? I have a room, come stay with me, and I would always let people stay in my hotel room if they needed a place to stay. And then I think he might have beat me at that contest.
I think it's the one and only contest that he beat you at. He got no sleep because he was staying in the monster Jaren Grob's room. And at that point,
that's the problem with staying there, is you're going to be up all night.
Yeah, and it was like party monster days, so he got to experience that. Cameron wasn't a party guy by any means, but he got to live vicariously through you and then beat you in that one contest. But I'm going to go with Cameron's first inappropriate question, and here we go.
What's up, Jaren? I'm glad I got to beat you. That was nice. My mom was so proud of me for that. But we're going to go right into these questions. Tell me about the small part you had in the Pat Lennon video, Apples That Fell Far from the Tree.
I did not give him permission to use that clip. Yeah.
That's all you need to say, really.
Yeah. If you know the video, you know the video. But yeah, we were young and partying. What else can I say?
All right, that's it for question number 1. We'll jump into question number 2.
You recently just bought your first home in Rose Park. You had 2 local skater friends who lived at the house, and you were out of town. They threw a party. I'd like to hear your perspective of when you showed up early.
All right, so there was a Mitchapalooza going on at your house. You owned it at that point. You've got 2 rollerbladers living there. You're on the road traveling. You come home early, and what do you walk into?
Oh, they had a huge party, Mitchapalooza for sure. They had a drum set in my living room, just going off. There were people on my roof in my house. My neighbors were like, every time you leave, there's people on your roof. I don't know. They just went crazy. The place was destroyed. And I partied harder than probably all of them, but I respected my place, So that was the most thing that just sucked, is they just destroyed my place and had people there that didn't care about my place, just because they were young and wanted to party.
Well, that sucks, but to be young and have no responsibility living in your buddy's house and to forget that your buddy even exists. That's got to be a fun party to have. The eviction party.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is inappropriate. Oh, no, it's not inappropriate questions, because we have one more inappropriate question. This one's not as inappropriate, but very Cameron Card. Here we go with his final inappropriate question.
Okay, last one, Jaren. This is going to be a hard one, but you're usually known as a pretty hard type guy, like the monster. When was the last time that you cried?
Oh, I get emotional all the time. Yeah, I'm more of one that would cry for emotions versus getting hurt. So probably when I couldn't see my son on the time I was supposed to get to see him or something.
Yeah, I don't think he thought that you cried when you got hurt. I mean, yeah, he was wondering when you got emotional and cried. This is Cameron Card here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, emotionally cried probably anything to do with my son. Thought I'd be able to take him to a contest and I couldn't take him to, or anything that I was looking forward to seeing him.
It's super weird what a kid can do to you, huh? Like the emotions and the love that you have that you never thought were possible.
Oh, for sure. They change your life.
And it's a good thing. So, Jaren, you are one of the most exciting skaters of our time. And you're more than that. You're like the perfect evil monster character that wasn't really evil. He was likable, and he was the center of attention at the events. And then he was sending it at the bar after the events. And you did that for like over 20 years. And now that you're the pillar of health and you don't party like you used to, well, that's okay, because you sent it when you were supposed to. It's the way that it should be done, and I totally respect the shit out of it. So I thank you for telling your story, and I thank you for your time. So that was time with the monster, Jaren Grob. And I loved watching that guy skate. He was the master of transitions, and he could do what everyone else couldn't. I remember before contests, the K2 skaters, when they were trying to figure out what their lines were going to be, they would always try to hide their big hammers from Jaren, because they knew that if Jaren saw what they were doing, he would incorporate that into his line, and he would do it better than they could ever do it, and he would get a better score. He just had that talent, and he could mimic what everybody else was doing. He could also come up with his own lines, and he went really, really big and seemed to have no respect for his body, and it was always so much fun to watch. And his passion for skating, well, you can hear it in his voice, and you know it's there, as the dude has been doing this professionally for almost 30 years. And I guess I didn't really ask at this point if he felt like he was trapped and inline skating was all he had and that was the only way he could make money, or if it was still just what he wanted to do. And I'm sure it is his passion because it's what he's best at and he enjoys that, and maybe he could go get a regular job one day. Hopefully he won't have to do that. But anyway, 30 years is crazy, and it'll be cool to see how much longer the monster can go. And then right about the time that he's about to skate off into the sunset, the little monster could be the talk of the action sports world. We'll see how that all plays out in the future, but up until today, it's been a pretty incredible skating adventure for Jaren Grob, and that's the podcast. At this point, I want to ask you to review me wherever you listen, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, wherever. Those reviews help me jump up the algorithm or do something in the algorithm where I get fed to a lot more people and it gets more earballs on the podcast, and I really appreciate that. So please do that for me. The final thing I'd like for you to do for me is to support my incredible sponsors who make this thing happen. Please listen to their ads, which they've already played, so you don't have to go back and listen again, but buy their products, please. The brands I'm talking about are Elan Skis, Outdoor Research, Best Day Brewing, Ski Idaho, and Insta360 Video. Have a great week, everyone.